You want me to?
Okay. All right. So welcome, everybody. I'm Mark Schoenfield, co-chair of the Israel Committee. And we're very pleased that you're with us this Sunday morning to hear Israel's ambassador to Bahrain. And I'm going to turn this over to Seymour Lipton, who arranged the program, goes way back with the ambassador, and I don't think takes responsibility for the ambassador suffering through Arctic-like winters in Chicago when he was here. Seymour?
Thank you, Mark. Ambassador, as I mentioned to you, I'm not going to introduce you. I'd rather have you introduce yourself by telling us about your background. Where were you born? What is your family, your education, and why you chose diplomacy as a career? So please.
Okay, thank you, Seymour. Indeed, we're going long time back. I joined the ministry because the decision was, I made the decision when I was 16. Israel just signed the peace accord. And I kind of wanted to do diplomacy. I thought that 4 years in the army and some 3 years abroad and then in the kibbutz abroad, working, studying. I joined the ministry at the age of 28. And from then on, it was 4 years in Turkey, for which I was crossed over to Chicago for freezing 2 years with the Frozen Chosen in Greater Chicago. That was the 50th anniversary of Israel. So I was traveling across the Midwest from Michigan to Missouri and from Indiana to Wisconsin. And then after 2 years in Israel, I was sent as ambassador to Baku, Azerbaijan, for 4 years, and then 8 years in Israel, out of which 4 years at the National Security Council, and then off to London as deputy ambassador, and for 8 months also actually acting ambassador. And from there again crossed over to Turkey as ambassador, for which I was unceremoniously kicked out, asked to leave after the flare-up with the Palestinians following the US recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. And obviously the border clashing between Gaza and Israel. So went back to Israel, and when the Abraham Accords happened, I, true to my original plan, wanted to be part of it and asked to be sent to Abu Dhabi to head the first mission there. And from there, after the elections, asked to become first ambassador to Bahrain. So here I am, 14 months, and building an embassy, building relations, deepening and widening contacts, and physically building an embassy. We just started to renovate the offices where our embassy will be. Just about finishing to recruit local and Israeli staff. And all the while having the president here, the prime minister, minister of defense, other ministers, economic delegations. Hopefully culture will start soon. Youth delegations. We have a youth group outside this room meeting Israeli young diplomats. So that's in a nutshell, making peace.
Ambassador, do you speak any languages besides English and Ivrit? Do you speak Arabic?
I speak a bit of Arabic. I read and write. That's what I studied in high school and university. I speak a bit of Turkish and чуть-чуть по-русски.
Has that helped you in your responsibilities with the Arab countries, with the UAE?
Yeah, yes. It's not that they need anybody here to speak Hebrew, to our surprise, Arabic, to our surprise. Everybody here speaks beautiful English, better than us. They were educated in the US and the UK. But it helps when it comes to read the papers on the roadsides.
So you mentioned all the different ambassador roles you had. What would you consider the highlights of your career so far?
Well, no doubt, coming back to Turkey after being there as my first posting was one highlight. But I think the most exciting, and probably will leave its mark on me way after I finish my career in a few years, is opening the embassy in Abu Dhabi and becoming first ambassador here in Bahrain. Abu Dhabi is one of a different country. Both are in the, how you want to call it, the locals here prefer to call it the Arab Gulf. Very small country here. Only 1.4 million people, half of them expats. The other half are almost 50-50 or 40-60 Shiites and Sunnis. Very complex sectarian schisms between the Shiites, Arab Shiites and Farsi Shiites. The Sunnis, those who support the Abraham Accords, those who don't support the Abraham Accords. So it's a very interesting mix and very challenging work.
Thank you. Before we start talking about the Abraham Accords, could you tell us more about Bahrain? What about its culture, its primary religion, its size? I understand it's a very small country with a small population, but a very important country apparently for Israel.
The size of Bahrain is probably smaller than Greater Chicago. It's only 700 square kilometers. I don't know how much it is in square miles, but it's twice the size of the Gaza Strip. That says anything. It's 45 minutes drive north to south and half an hour between east and west. The Iranian coast, the coast that is opposite Iran, to the Saudi coast. Saudi is very close to here. There is a bridge, 25 kilometers or about 15 miles long, that connects this tiny island to Saudi. Again, the Muslim population here is mostly Shiite, but they themselves are split between Arab Shiites to Farsi Shiites. And the Sunni population, some of them come from Iran, some of them come from Iraq, or local Bahrainis. So it's a lot of them are from Qatar, the next door bigger island, but smaller in population and way richer. Mainly, the main income is oil. Still 85% of the income is oil, although they are the smallest and most and poorest Gulf state, part of the Gulf Cooperation Council. But very nice people, very friendly. And again, the second country to sign the Abraham Accords, ruled by a royal family who, in a very brave manner, decided to sign the Abraham Accords and to set up full diplomatic relationships with Egypt. So kudos to them on that.
How strong is the monarchy? Is there a government that does operate under the monarchy?
Yes. The prime minister for the first time is the crown prince for the first time in the history of this country is also the prime minister after the death of his father's uncle. It is a monarchy, indeed, but there is a government. There is a measure of democracy here. We just had elections to parliament. 40 members of parliament were elected, and like in the UK, 40 members of the upper house, the Shura Council, were nominated by the king. The deliberations in parliament are democratic, noisy. They give headaches to the ministers. The other democratic institute here is actually, believe it or not, the Chamber of Commerce. 140,000 members who elect the chairman. But again, different political culture, different history, different social fabric and traditions and religion. It's a Bedouin society and Bedouin tribes of 200 and 300 years ago, meshed together with the local, by the way, Shiite population of the island, the original population of the island. The royal family arrived here 300 years ago from Qatar. So interesting fabric, interesting type of a country that tries to find its way in a changing world. And a world that is also moving from an oil economy, or wanted to move from an oil economy to a more to a renewable energy, green energy, only to find out that oil still matters and that you still need oil for the foreseeable future.
I understand the king.
So here we are.
I understand the king has been reigning for 20 years. Is he liked by the population? Is he accepted by the population?
I think by the majority, yes. I think that they accept his rule. There is an opposition. There is a very loud opposition inside the country and mostly outside the country. The Iranians tried to topple his government twice, once in 1981, where they tried to murder the former emir and himself as the crown prince, and again in 2011. Their vision of democracy is very similar to the mullahs in Iran. So we are not talking here about Dutch kind of democracy versus anything else, but Iranian type democracy. Those guys support Iran and the likes of Iran, Hezbollah. Bahrain has decided in 1816, as they say, to belong to the West. They signed a pact with the British. They didn't want to belong to the Ottoman Empire. And they have American presence here since the end of the World War II. They have the first hospital here is the American Mission Hospital. Just opened an Israeli innovation center within its walls. So there is a strong bonds between Bahrain and the US, Bahrain and the West, and now we're building the bonds with Israel.
Does most of the population live in Manama, the capital, where you are now?
Yes, there are small cities outside Manama. It's like, you know, Chicago and Evanston, Glencore, etc. I mean, there are kind of remote neighborhoods of the main city, Manama.
What is the regional alignment of Bahrain? What countries are they closer to within the Arab community?
The origins of the culture here is what they call the Dilmun civilization. Or only throughout the Middle Ages of the Dilmun civilization, we started to talk about Abraham and the Bible as we know it. So it's a way earlier civilization than the Hebrew civilization that came after or during. So there was an old civilization here, part of an empire with its capital here in Bahrain. It was a green island, sweet water, and you can still see the remains of that here in Bahrain. The language now is Arabic. The closest country to Bahrain is Saudi.
Well, let's start talking about the Abraham Accords. When did you get involved, and what was your role in setting up the Abraham Accords? How would you describe that for us?
I had absolutely nothing to do with the Abraham Accords themselves. It came to me as a surprise, like to anybody else, including within the foreign ministry and almost everybody else in Israel. It was a secret kept very close to the chest of very few people in Israel. But as soon as I learned about the Abraham Accords in August 20, and obviously the ceremony in the White House lawn in September 2020, I knew that this is a place I want to be in. I found my calling, if you want to say it. I always liked these kind of jobs, hence my service in Turkey and Azerbaijan, all Muslim countries, building relationships, starting from almost the beginning with Turkey in the 90s, upgrading relationship in 2016, end of 2016, and again in Abu Dhabi and here and Bahrain. So it was clear to me that I want to be involved in building up the relationships. But as I said, it had nothing to do with the actual accords.
Okay. The Accords, there's a key word that we read frequently about the Abraham Accords, and that is the word normalization. What does normalization mean, and how many different options are there to normalize a relationship with an Arab country?
So this is an interesting question, and thank you for that, because you find many answers. At the beginning, the Bahraini said, look, we are not it's not abnormal relationships, so there's nothing to normalize. We didn't have relationships, and we are building now close friendly relationships. And that's the closest definition of what we try to do here. But at the same time, we signed the Warm Peace Agreement, or MOU, Memorandum of Understanding with the Bahrainis, where we stipulate where we want to go, where we want to be in 10 years' time, in terms of diplomatic relationships, political, security, economic, and people-to-people relationships. This relationship will stand, like every normal relationships, on 4 solid legs. Normal relationships means visits, means tourism, means people can board a plane and within 2.5 hours they land in Bahrain. Normal relationships mean embassies, mean trades, mean culture, exchange of culture. Means that as I'm talking to you now on Zoom, I've got another call, which I'm not going to answer, of course, from the Bahraini ambassador in Tel Aviv. That's normal. That's what we do.
Ambassador, I am going to read a comment that I extracted from one of the news columns that I read this week. It goes as follows, quote, critics have pointed out that while Israel has made significant progress in the relationship with the United Arab Emirates, progress with Bahrain and Morocco has been slower. Do you agree with this?
To understand, look, there are differences between all 3 countries. The fact that the country is at the Gulf doesn't mean that they are all the same. There's different demographics here. There is different economies. The UAE is a very rich country. It's a welfare state to the greatest extent one can imagine, from birth to burial. And quite homogeneous, although 7 different emirates. And when people talk about Israel-UAE relationships, they usually talk about Israel-Abu Dhabi and Israel-Dubai, 2 of the 7 emirates of the United Arab Emirates. Not much in a way with other emirates, except maybe Ras Al Khaimah, which is just north of Dubai. 2 hours drive away from Abu Dhabi if you drive fast. Bahrain is a different country. It has a Shiite majority. It's very close to Saudi Arabia. Worth noting that the country signed into the Abraham Accords without the Saudi objecting. Some say even actively supporting, or even push Bahrain to sign. I think with the economic capabilities of Bahrain, the size of Bahrain, I wouldn't compare Bahrain to the UAE, although even Israelis within government, within the foreign ministry, because it's out there, it's in the Gulf, so they should be almost the same. They're not.
Now, Bahrain is very small. It has a population of less than 2 million people, if I'm correct.
1.4.
1.4. That's quite small. So why is it important? What is the significance for Israel and the Abraham Accords to have a normalization arrangement with Bahrain?
Well, first of all, as a matter of fact, it's the second country that signed into the Abraham Accords. Its location, it's very close to Saudi, very close to the Saudi market. It's a gateway to the Gulf. It's a gateway to the Gulf for business. It's between east and west, and that is from biblical times. A lot of the trade routes from east to west, west to east, went through Manama and its deep water ports. Even the Bible, the prophet Yechezkel speaks about the presidents and princes of Arab, with which Tyre and Jerusalem used to trade with, and this is First Temple era. So Bahrain and the early civilization that was here always played a role in trade between east and west. It's a country that, given in the future, maybe, or not maybe, in the future, when Saudi will open, we will see a lot of the land transportation and land trade routes open and going through Bahrain, Saudi, Jordan, and Israel. Far have to sail around Arabia, through the Suez Canal, or if it's a very big ship, around Africa. A lot of it can come through trains and lorries, trucks. It's only 20 hours drive from Manama to Tel Aviv. There are no traffic jams in the roads leading to Tel Aviv. So there is huge potential here, which we are trying to discover.
What do you think are the major challenges for Israel in its relationship with Bahrain going forward? We have good relations now. What are the challenges going forward, do you think?
Good relationship is, you have to analyze what does relationship means, because do we have diplomatic relationships? Yes. Do we have good relationship with the Foreign Office? Yes. Trade, very minimal still. Visitors from both sides, not so many. Still, it's a very small nation, so we're not expecting hundreds of thousands of tourists. And they cannot all afford going to Israel. Israel, as many American tourists know, is quite expensive. But it's a sandy island, not too many attractions for the average Israeli tourists who likes to go to Las Vegas of the Gulf, to Dubai. So there's a lot of work to be done vis-a-vis tourism, trade, attracting investments, Israeli investments, penetrating Israeli technologies into the Gulf via Bahrain. These are the real challenges that we have. And of course, let's not hide it underneath the table, security challenges.
I have a question regarding Saudi Arabia. I understand that Bahrain has a good relationship with Saudi Arabia. What do you think the chances are for bringing Saudi Arabia into a normalization situation that would make them part of the accords?
To be honest with you, I don't know the answer to that. Remember that all peace accords in the Middle East came as almost as a surprise, maybe with the exception of Jordan. But Egypt was a surprise. Obviously, the Abraham Accords was a surprise. Oslo was a surprise. So I don't know. Probably few things need to happen before. And what it represents to the Arab world, the Islamic world, can fully normalize relationship with Israel. But I can tell you, and it's no secret, that Israelis meet the Saudis. Some of the meetings that take place here in Bahrain between business people. Some Israeli businessmen and women already can travel if they have dual citizenships to Saudi. They are welcomed there, not by everybody, but welcomed. I think we are, again, I'm cautious about it because we've seen surprise before. We have some time before that will happen, but who knows? Hopefully during my time. I'd love to go to Saudi.
Well, in conclusion about discussing the Abraham Accords, there are many ways for the countries in the Accords to cooperate with one another. You've mentioned many of them. I mean, they include trade, defense, security, water management, health issues, agriculture. Where do you think the major achievements have been so far in establishing relations with the few countries that are under the Accords right now?
It's by no small measure the very fact that we have an embassy here, an Israeli embassy here, and a Bahraini embassy in Tel Aviv. The fact that we started to have youth exchanges, that outside this room, I don't know if you can hear the noise, there is a lively group of Israelis and Bahrainis who are mingling together, and Israelis visiting Bahrain, and Bahrainis visited Israel already. The beginning of trade and business and investments, visits that took place and that will take place. Today I visited Parliament for the first time. So I'm telling that to you. I haven't yet reported into Jerusalem, so be careful with the information. But these are all first steps that we are taking, and you know, it won't be all at once. It will step by step, but each step is quite exciting. It's exciting to those of us who are dealing with that, being Bahraini academicians and business people, listening to Bahrainis come back from Israel for the first time, and their impressions are different than what they thought before they came to Israel, what they thought about Jews and Israelis, tanks, camels, and people shooting at each other. So it's exciting. These are the things that make us want to get up in the morning and go to work of peace, making peace, building relationships.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Now we are going to invite our participants to ask any questions that they may have. So, Becky, would you recognize those who have questions?
Yeah, thank you, Ambassador. Just a reminder, on the bottom of your screen, you have a reaction. So if you could just raise your hand and make sure you include your name to make sure we all know each other. I think, Mark, I saw your hand up. Mark, can you unmute? We can't hear you.
Okay. Ambassador, thank you for your very candid insights. I have read also, in terms of the threat of Iran and Hezbollah, that Bahrain has started to participate in some joint defense exercises involving the United States, Saudi Arabia, and Bahrainian forces, including Air Force. Is that something of significance?
So under the canopy of the CENTCOM, American Central Command, and the Fifth Fleet, NAVCENT, who are based here in Manama, a lot of cooperation is happening between us, the Bahrainis, the Emiratis, and the other countries. We celebrated 2 years to the Abraham Accords with a group of Israeli paratroopers jumping off an American C-130 together with the Bahraini and the Emirati and American Navy SEALs, free skydive, which was quite exciting to see all of them in the sky jumping and coming down. We had dinner together. They attached the wings to each other's chests. It's symbolic, but significant. There are exchanges of visits. Obviously, I cannot elaborate too much, but you know, we all face the same challenge. Iran is a threat not just to the region. We all see what happens in Ukraine. We know who supplies Russia with deadly drones, the Shahed 136, and that's now too close for comfort to Europe, who woke up to the realization that what we said, that we said in the past is actually true. Iran is a threat to the security of the world and to the West. What started in the Middle East will spill over to Europe. It's within range, and we see it now. Supply of ballistic missiles from Iran to Russia. Everything that you can see in the press. So there are no hidden secrets. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be Henry Kissinger to realize what's going on. So yes, everybody here is fully aware to the risk and to the fact that if you want to stop it, deal with it, we are better doing it together, stronger together.
Ernie?
Yeah. Again, thank you, Ambassador, for taking the time to speak with us. Much appreciated. I have a number of questions, but they're all related. One is the royal family Sunni? I'm assuming they are. Number two, the 1.4 million people. Is that the total population, or is that the citizens of the country? And I'm wondering about foreign workers. And you spoke about Parsi, Sunni population. Are they citizens of the realm of Bahrain? Thank you.
Yeah, the Arab population or the Farsi population here are citizens of Bahrain, just different religious origins, but both Sunni and Shia citizens. The 52% of expats are mostly, half of them are Indians from India. The rest are from other Asian countries and Arab countries, Africa. Altogether, just over 700,000 people. The Arabs, Farsi, Muslim population here are, of course, citizens. But that situation is true to other Gulf states. Quite a lot of expats, foreign workers in Saudi, 90% of the population in the UAE, a lot more in Qatar, only 400,000 Qatari Arabs. The rest are expats, up to 2.5 million. So this is the situation in the Gulf. There are a lot of foreign workers here. My staff are majority Nepali and Indians, drivers, like PA, but also Bahai, Christian, Indians. We have a very diversified religious population in the embassy and here in Bahrain.
Any other questions?
Ambassador, there was a visit by U.S. senators in Bahrain, I think about 2 weeks ago, 1 week to 2 weeks ago. How significant was their visit? Why were they visiting? Was the embassy involved in their visit at all? And what did they do while they were there?
They visited Bahrain in order to learn about the Abraham Accords. And I think the Abraham Accords, the importance of the Abraham Accords is not in correlation to how much the public opinion in the West knows about it. And the senators came here in order to learn also how they can help Bahrain. Bahrain is a small country, smaller than Israel, way weaker than Israel, poorer, and needs help in the West in order to simply show to other Arab countries that this is the way forward. that we need to attract and to show the success of those who choose this way. And that's basically what the Senators came to learn and see how they can help. If
Bernie?
there are no other questions, I need to say goodbye to my guests. Simar, I have to really apologize to you because you have booked this evening with me 6 months in advance. But sometimes reality is stronger than plans that we make. I do need to say goodbye to my guests. If there is one last question, I'll answer. But if not,
We have one more from Ernie Simon.
okay, good.
Ernie, you're on mute. Ernie, you're still on mute.
I just wanted to ask, are there universities or medical institutions, Israeli universities and medical institutions that are making exchanges with Bahraini institutions?
That's an easy question, and thank you for asking it. Health and medicine are the fastest growing area of cooperation between Israel and Bahrain. Sheba Hospital has just opened an innovation center, Mission Hospital here, followed by Maccabi, the second largest Israeli caregiver, who does joint research. Soon you'll see for the first time Israeli and Arab researchers from the Middle East publishing joint research. Other Israeli hospitals like what was known as the Rothschild Hospital, now Bnei Zion in Haifa, and Ichilov of Tel Aviv coming in. Israeli telemedicine or remote medicine is coming in to not just one hospital, but few hospitals. Soon we'll see some doctors maybe trained in Israel. Outside have one of a young Bahraini doctor who wants to go and study in Israel. And we'll see how to make that happen with maybe some scholarships, training in Israel, internship or residency in Israeli hospitals. There's still some bureaucratic barriers to overcome, but I'm confident that we will be able to. So yes, there's a lot going on in medicine and a lot that still needs to happen. Us Israelis, we're never satisfied with what we have. We always want more of the same, more progress, more cooperation. But medicine is something that is easy to explain to the masses, the necessity of it, why it's important. We have Bahraini patients in Israeli hospitals, mainly in Sheba, but probably soon in other hospitals. And there is a lot that the Bahrainis can teach us as well. They have pretty good doctors here, and quite a lot of hospitals, specialized hospitals, foreign doctors, Bahraini doctors. So yeah, it's we're not in the bushes when it comes to medicine. I was treated here. My staff is being treated here. The level of medicine here is not, to say the least.
Ambassador, we thank you very much for the time you have given us today and for sharing your comments so openly. And best wishes to you and your assignment there, and best wishes to you and your family. Be well, stay well.
Simo, I'll remain personal. It's great seeing you after all these years. I think that the synagogue is very happy to have you. And thank you for connecting us and giving me the opportunity to talk to you. And thank you for listening. It's important that the American Jewish community will learn more and know more about this tremendously important accord. It's a groundbreaking, it's a game changer. And hopefully we'll see more such accords, normalization or full diplomatic relations accords being signed between Israel and other Arab countries. Sudan, we hear there are some good news coming. Chad is opening an embassy in Tel Aviv. Keep up the good work on your side, and we will try to do our best on our side. And thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom. להתראות. Bye.